All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to part 2 of day 5. So this is very exciting, and I just want to say welcome to the first and largest online career expo that's ever staged in the city's innovation and technology sector. And for those of you, this is the first time that you're in here, I'll introduce myself all over again. My name is MC Melody Kwan. I will be with you every day until March 31st. Now, as I mentioned, if you were here this morning, you probably heard these stats, but I will say it again for those of you who just came in. Now, we have a total of over 25,000 site visits and over 130,000 page views up to right now. And not only that, we got over 6,000 CVs that have been submitted, so a lot of things that's going on. Now, what should you expect on this platform? Now, this virtual platforms will actually offer you over 1,000 career opportunities as for more than 150 science park technology companies that's across different sectors. For example, like AI and robotics. We got health tech, we got fintech, we got smart city, which you could just apply in as simple as one click, since I'm sure everyone's at home right now. So you're probably glued to your mobile devices one way or another. And not only that, we're making it very simple, and we're actually making it very informative, because we are presenting you with actually close to 20 webinars that's featuring some experienced recruiters. We got the IMT heavyweights, we got the trailblazing startups, and also, last but not least, we got the industry experts that are joining us to share some of their very useful insights. So everyone, buckle up, get ready, and say hi to your future, where you're more prepped and more geared up for your future and be ahead of your game, ahead of everybody else. Now, with me in this session today, we have Mr. Paul Chan. He is the Associate Director, Head of Hong Kong Spencer Ogden, and he will share with us on how to make your closing perfect during an interview. Now, for those of you who were actually here earlier this week, we talked about how to master your CV and how to ace that interview. But now this is how to make the closing perfect as well. So everyone, let's get ready. Give our virtual round of applause to Paul. Hi, Paul. Good to see you.
Hey, Melody, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for coming in. Now, I'm sure just to make everything perfect, you actually made the perfect title for this session. So let's jump right in. Can you tell something about us and something about the company that you work at, so everyone knows the same thing about you?
Yeah, sure thing, sure thing. So I'm Paul Chan. I'm the Associate Director and Head of Hong Kong for Spencer Ogden. Spencer Ogden, we're a UK founded recruitment business back in 2010. And now we have 16 locations globally, and we set up our Hong Kong operations back in 2013. I was one of the founding members there, and in the short space of 7 years, we now have around 30 sales staff. And our 3 main domains that we specialize in are across engineering, financial services, as well as information technology. I myself, I started recruiting in the UK back in 2007 and relocated to Hong Kong in 2010. And throughout my career path, I've always personally specialized in the IT recruitment space, Melody.
Okay, now let's jump into our first question. It's quite general. This is actually from me. Now, how important do you think, in your point of view, is it to end an interview well? I mean, it sounds like an obvious question, but it's not really at the same time. Like, how important is it? Like, if I messed it up, is it really that bad?
I would say so, because ultimately, how you end an interview is how the interviewer is going to perceive you to be after you've met them face to face, because that's the only opinion that they'll have of you when they're assessing whether to put you through to the next round or whether they choose you as the person to offer. So, it is extremely important. And from an interview standpoint, we need to take a step back and actually think, what is an interview? An interview is basically an employer having an invisible checklist to see whether you're the right person for them, both technically as well as from a cultural standpoint. So if you understand how to end the interview well, you'll be able to be in command of whether you've ticked all the boxes of the checklist that they have.
All right. So I'm just trying to think from like a more relatable example for me. A date. Everything goes well, candlelight dinner, flowers, everything, phone numbers, and good impression. And suddenly you just like kick her out the door and it's like, okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah, bye.
I think, yeah, no, that's not how we want to do it. Now, that said, what is a perfect way to end an interview? I'm sure there's no one answer, but what is one of the perfect ways?
Yeah, there's definitely not one answer because every
Mm,
person is different. You know, I can say word for word exactly the same thing as you, but it may mean totally different things because of the way we say it or our backgrounds.
mm,
So ultimately, there's some sort of a framework and a formula, but it needs to be tailored to you. And the most important thing is just be yourself when you're doing all of this. But you know, there are things as an interviewee that you need to be aware of, and it's also like a checklist of your own. So ultimately, you need to think back right at the end of the interview. Have you quantified for your employer whether you know your experience is unique to yourself? You know, were you able to demonstrate you've got really good soft skills? Were you able to showcase to them that you really prepared yourself, as well as being, you know, really want this role? Because, you know, ultimately when you're interviewing for someone, the employer would also want it to be a two-way street, not just them interviewing you, but want to also see your eagerness. So for us, we actually have a workshop that we do to engage with our job seekers on teaching them a interview style, which we call the competency-based interviewing, and it's broken into 4 stages.
mm.
And as long as you keep these 4 stages throughout the interview, as well as ultimately on a bigger scope for the whole interview, then at least you know that you've done everything you can to demonstrate the best of your ability. You know, sometimes that may still not mean that you can be successful for the job opportunity, because
Mm.
sometimes it may be a technical mismatch, but at least you know that you've done everything you can to demonstrate everything about yourself and not miss out on certain aspects. So, you know, very quickly, I can share the 4 stages, which is to acknowledge, which is to make sure that you are answering to the question that the interviewer is asking you. Answer with quantifiable examples. Third would be raising challenges and then how you handle these objections. And fourth, which is the most important part, and I would say at the end of the interview, you need to do it again and again, which is to question back whether there's anything during the interview that you've answered that you'd like them to elaborate, that you'd like them for you to elaborate, so that you can actually look at things that you may have missed that's on their checklist that they ask you back to answer.
Oh, wow. As simple as it is, how you just said it right there, I guess it's something that has to be rehearsed like over and over and over again without it looking like robotic or anything. But
100%.
wow, that's a good start. And now the second part of that question is, how can we leave a good impression? I think what you just said was actually part of it, if not a big part of it. But is there any other things that we should be aware of when we want to strike that impression? Because you said we need to paint a picture of ourselves to other people who don't know who we are. So anything else we should add to that?
Yeah, well, that's the most important part. First and foremost, be yourself, because you know you can practice a lot melody, as you said, when you're
Mm,
doing interviews. But if you're not demonstrating who you're going to be when you're employed as an employee,
mm.
that's not going to last in the long term, and you're not going to be culturally fit to what they're asking. So you know, just be yourself. And if you're not right for that opportunity, then take it as a blessing that that company is not right for you in the first place.
Mm.
But you know, apart from being yourself, you know, the preparation piece is really important. You need to be inquisitive. You know, you need to ask the right questions and be prepared with enough questions to, for example, looking at the company background, seeing the type of people that they have, trying to figure out what type of culture that they have, so that you can be proactive in sharing how you fit into that mold. And ultimately, that would share with them your eagerness and your passion for this role.
Wow, that's a lot of homework. So kind of going back to what we're saying, yeah. So don't rehearse it word for word, but rehearse it so that you know your stuff, and then you can kind of let your character shine through and kind of like question them back, because you at the same time they're interviewing me, I'm actually interviewing them in a way, right?
100%. I always tell my guys when they're going out for interviews, be prepared with multiple questions, but
Mm,
also be prepared that you may not ask all of them. You may even just sometimes ask one, but be the most relevant. Always ask the relevant question to what topic you're talking with your interviewer. You know, listening is also a big part of interviewing. And you know, you need to listen to what type of topic leads to where you are in the road path, and then have the right question to then ask that's inquisitive, but also demonstrate that you've done your research.
whew, multitasking is kind of like listening, selling, promoting, and then kind of just everything into one. If you can actually hit like multiple birds with one stone in that particular session, then do it.
Oh,
Wow, that's not easy. You say it like it's like simple, of course, because you've mastered already. So definitely, Paul's a guy to go to. Now, the last question from me before I go into the live is, what is the protocol, or is there a protocol after I leave that interview room, other than just like thanks?
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. You know, throughout the interview, you're trying to demonstrate the best of you. But there are many times that, as I said, you may miss out on certain things that right after the interview, you go, damn, I should have said this, I should have said that. Be it that you've got that or you don't. Send your interviewer a thank you note, thanking them for their time, because ultimately they've taken time out of their role to be part of the process, and that courtesy would definitely take you a long way. And then following that, be patient. Plenty of job seekers, they don't go job searching a lot of time in their career path. So it's not a surprise that it may take weeks before you get feedback. So be patient. If you're right, you're right.
Oh, wow. Wow. This again, easier said than done, but we definitely have to bear that in mind, especially at this day and age where we want instant gratification. We want things to happen the next second. Patience,
Yeah.
patience. That's a very big virtue to have. Now let's go right into the questions that we have from live. Again, thank you so much, everyone at home. Like, I mean, there's so many questions coming in, and they're very good quality questions too. I'll try to fly through them. And now, first, what is the best way to negotiate for a better salary? Hmm.
Um, that that's an interesting question. Honestly speaking, I would say if it depends on which stage of the interview you are currently at.
Mm,
Uh, but always, when everyone, when you're changing job opportunities, once you get to that stage, salary is definitely important.
mm,
But you need to justify the reasons behind why you need a salary increment and why you believe you deserve to have a higher salary increment, and be factual. Be it understanding of the market, be it understanding of your current situation. Sometimes the employer may disagree, but that's also fine, because it's a two-way discussion for them to share with you why they justify a certain offer that they believe fits to your background, and it's for you guys to understand whether there's a compatible match and synergy there. But ultimately, I would say just be honest.
mm.
Obviously, also be realistic. If you're on a certain amount and you say, "Hey, double my salary," that's perfectly fine if you can go in and say why you justify that. But if you don't have a justifiable clause and just a case of "I just want more money," then maybe don't do it.
That's true. I guess, as you said, it's a two-way street, right? Say the other extreme would be you totally deserve it. Everyone's wondering why you're underpaid, and then you ask them, you ask them for the salary that you're supposed to deserve, and they don't give it to you. So it should be an indicator. It's like, maybe we shouldn't have the relationship that we're having right now. So it's like a two-way street,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Now, the second one is, what is the one question that you should never ask at the end of an interview?
Oh, that's a good question. One question that you
Or
should.
is there such a question? Like, or have you encountered any?
Um, but I wouldn't say there's ever a bad question. Just don't be rude.
Mm,
Ultimately, if you're asking a question, it needs to have, again, a reason why behind the question. Don't ask silly questions. Make it relatable to the job search. Uh,
right.
small talk's one thing when you're breaking the ice at the beginning of an interview, but when you're ending an interview, be professional and make it job related. But I would never say that there's a bad question. It's just how good the question is, on the parameter of good to great.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Now, the next one is, does it make a difference to close a one-on-one interview and panel interview?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Does it make a difference? Oh, sorry, let me rephrase this question. Does it make a difference in terms of how to close a one-on-one interview and a panel interview? Is there a difference?
I would say definitely not, because as I shared, if you're in command of what you're doing, ultimately, one person is just one checklist. A panel is multiple checklists. So if you are able to share with them, or ask them to, whether there's things that is for you to elaborate, then you're checking through everyone's checklist. But I would say the difference of how to end an interview would be broken down into two different categories, which is for sales professionals and non-sales professional. There's two different ways of closing. And I would like to add in that for sales professionals, close. Share with them and ask them the question: is there anything that I could have done better or differently, or what do you think that I need to do differently in order for me to proceed through this stage, so that you are there to close the deal? Whereas for a non-sales professional, you're there to demonstrate your technical capability and how you can contribute from a greater scope. So there's no need of such a cutthroat type-esque question back at the end.
Ah, because when you're trying to demonstrate more of the exact technical skills that's required, whereas the other one is more like the people side of things.
100%.
Okay, got it. Now, another one is, let's see. If I have questions that cannot be answered during an interview, what can I do about it?
Be honest. What's the reason behind you not being able to answer the question? Either that there are times that you've got certain NDAs, and if that is the case, then just be truthful to it. But there are times that you don't know how to answer it because you actually don't have the information. If you don't acknowledge it, I apologize, but this is not something that I have the full facts. It's something that's quite interesting, and after this interview, I'll definitely go and explore this. And as I shared, when you're sending that email back, go and answer the question that you weren't able to answer before by going, hey, thank you so much. During the interview, I wasn't able to answer that question, but I did some research and I found the answer to be this. In my situation, if that happened to me, my answer to you now would be, it will happen this way. So that it shows that you are diligently trying to upskill yourself ongoingly so that you're being accountable and being professional.
Right. It's how you get at it. And also, I guess they'll appreciate that honesty too, as you said, like earlier. If you don't know, you don't know. You can't pretend, right? Now, looking at time, let's jump into our last question. Someone said, if I found the job that I'm interviewing for isn't the one that I'm looking for, how do I end it politely? I guess it's not K, thanks, bye in this case. That's just as bad, right?
Yeah, definitely not, because there's plenty of times that when you're interviewing for something, your employer may be hiring for more than just that one thing. So be honest and be truthful. As we both discussed, it's a two-way conversation. It's not just about the employer trying to hire you for that one role. It's you sharing what you are looking for from your future employer. And there's plenty of times in my experience that when I share this advice to my candidates, they come back and my client then goes, you know what, we had a really good conversation. I really liked Johnny, but ultimately we both agreed that Johnny's not right for this role. However, with what Johnny shared in terms of what he is of interest, I've got something else. Can you go back to him to see whether he's of interest in that type of role? So you're being honest and truthful to your own career path and your aspirations. And sometimes it'll surprise you that the employer may see you culturally fitting into their background and create something for you.
Oh, wow. Actually, that's a very good takeaway as well. I'm sure a lot of us kind of overlook that because an interview, we might be so focused on that in that in itself, we become really like, how to say, like tunnel vision, right? But then you're right. They do have other openings. So definitely don't mess that up and continue building that sincerity, that image that you have, and who knows where it's going to take you, right?
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Paul. Now, it's really good to have all this exchange from you because I'm sure we learned like a lot. I'm learning as I'm speaking to you, but we only got like a minute left, so I gotta let you go. So thank you so much, Paul. Everyone at home, big thank you to Paul, who's spending time to give this very insightful sharing. Thanks again.
Thank you, Melody, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Now, it's been a pleasure. Everyone, I'm sure you're enjoying it just as much as I do. However, due to time, I got to jump into our 10-minute break. Now, this wraps up our webinar session. And make sure, everyone, you can actually watch the replay. And the name of this session was Make Your Closing Perfect During an Interview. And these recorded sessions will be available online throughout our Virtual Career Expo, which is happening every day until the 31st of this month. And then coming in 10 minutes, yep, exactly 10 minutes, we have Most in-Demand Skills in INT by Mr. Alex Kang. He's the Strategic Partnership Manager of Hatch. So everyone, don't miss it. We'll come back in 10 minutes. And if you got any inquiries or any technical support, please contact us at hksp@vfairs.com. That is VFAIRS.com. So stay tuned. See you in exactly T-10 minutes.